Hi everyone, my name is Kannary. I am the founder of Aloha Wellness and I am known as the Weight Loss Whisperer. And I'm here with one of my favorite clients, Eva Buckowitz.
That's right.
And we're just going to talk about her experience. So Eva had an RTT session, which stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. And basically what RTT is, it is hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, and psychotherapy all mixed in one. And what I do is I help clients get to the root of their eating issues or why they cannot drop weight. So let's just dive in. All right. So Eva, when you, what was your initial reaction when you heard about, when I offered you hypnotherapy for weight loss? Because I completed my studies.
Right. I was fascinated by the idea, although a little skeptical, just because from a hypnosis perspective, I wasn't, I never thought I could be hypnotized or what it could actually do. So I would say I was a little skeptical, but excited at the prospect too.
Okay, so even though you were skeptical, what made you really, want to go through with hypnotherapy? People don't usually think of hypnotherapy for weight loss.
Right. Well, I have tried many different things over the course of the past many years. And I was interested in something helping, and I thought this might be, although I was a little skeptical, I thought, why not try this? Because it's something that I hadn't experienced before. And so I wanted to see what it was like and to try it.
Okay. So when you did have the session, how did you feel during your hypnotherapy session?
During the session? So it was very intense. And by intense, I mean that it brought me back to a time in my life, a childhood time. And so there's a lot of feelings that come up from something like that, And during it, I was so into it, I wasn't thinking of how this was or anything. I was you were giving me the session to go back and see what the clear reasons were for some of what I was used to doing with food. Right. So during that time, I was completely focused on that particular session.
Okay. So just to explain a little bit, I always have a questionnaire filled out, and I ask the client, what do you think is the reason why you cannot drop weight? Because we all know what to do. We all know, exercise and eating clean. All the magazines say it all the time. But why can't we just do it? Why don't we feel compelled to stick with a program or start a program? Sometimes it's really hard to get out of a rut. So I always ask clients, if you had to name it one thing, what would it be? So what I did with Eva is she called it discipline. I just can't get disciplined. So what I did was I regressed her back to the root cause of why she couldn't be disciplined when it came to dropping weight. Okay, so once again, how did you feel during your hypnotherapy session? Because a lot of people think that, it's like stage hypnosis. Like she's going to make me do weird things and she's going to, have this voice that's going to tell me, all right, you don't like this, you're going to do that and make me do funny things. But it's not like that at all.
It's not like that at all.
It's RTT, and it does have some hypnotherapy, because what RTT does is it reaches the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind controls about 90% of everything we do. 10% is the conscious mind. So if you think of it like an iceberg. So the conscious mind is logical, it's willpower, it's short-term memory. The subconscious mind, which is below the water, has our long-term beliefs, our values, our long-term memory. It's basically like your whole entire life has been recorded. Your mind remembers everything, and when you reach the subconscious mind, it's like you're going into the filing cabinet of, ooh, this is what happened and this is when it happened. So that's why if you have forgotten anything, detectives use this, a lot of people use this. If people have blanked out or had memory loss, they hypnotize them to go back and remember everything, because the subconscious mind will remember everything. So we have all these things stored and they're all below the surface. And if we want to make a change with what we do on top, willpower, logical thinking, any of that, first we have to reach the subconscious mind, look at what our beliefs are, interpret them, and then reframe them. So a lot of people, what they do is, they get on a diet plan, eat this, count calories, micros, macros, exercise 3 times a week. These are the best types of exercises. And you can only do that for so long. But if your mind doesn't believe that you can actually drop weight, if you have beliefs of my metabolism is slow, when I get to be a certain age, or big bones run in my family, or no matter what I do, I just can't drop weight. The more that you believe that, your mind is so powerful, it will do whatever you say. It's like if you say, ooh, if I go out in the rain, I'm gonna get sick. What happens? You end up getting sick.
Right.
So the mind is very powerful, just showing an example of that. So in my hypnotherapy session, I do ask, what do you think, if you had to name it one thing, what is the reason why you just can't drop the weight? And yours was discipline. So we regressed back to some of those scenes. So I regressed you back to 3 scenes. And so during the hypnotherapy, how did you feel? So we did it over Zoom, which is wonderful, because if you're not comfortable meeting in person, it's very, very effective over Zoom. It's just, you just have to be in a very quiet room where you're not disturbed, and where you can have an iPad or even your iPhone, a smartphone, or your computer, laptop open so that I can see your face.
Right.
And then as long as you can hear me, then it's very, very effective. So how did you feel during the session, like when I first regressed you back?
I felt, well, initially and throughout, I felt hopeful, which is an interesting way to think about it. But I was back to what I had said earlier, that I was looking forward to something that could help me, and I really had a real need and for something to work, right? Yeah. So during the hypnotherapy session, I felt as if we went back in my history. I felt we went back for the inner child, and the inner child is what was holding me to a certain set of beliefs. Yeah. And we worked on that. We talked about how you need to take care of that inner child and make sure that your beliefs follow where you want to go, or where you want to go follow the positive beliefs that you have, right? Yeah. So during that, I felt it was an emotional time, and it was a positive time at the same time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite parts about RTT is the becoming the loving parent, or the inner child.
Right.
Because we say these horrible things to ourselves all day long. I mean, if you really think about it, what goes on between your ears is what's really holding us back.
Definitely.
We're always, we say horrible, mean things to ourselves that we would never say to our friends, family, or a child.
Right.
And if you say to yourself, oh, I'm always late, oh, I always fail, I never finish things, oh, I always make mistakes, like I'm such a loser. And we're all guilty of it. So one of my favorite thing about RTT is upgrading the child. So that's where I bring you back to your childhood home, and you see yourself as a child, and you ask that child if they're happy, and they know you're looking at each other, and they know that you are them as an adult, and they are you as a child, and you have this perfect affinity with each other. And you ask the child if they're happy, and whatever they say, you know, why are. But the best thing is, then you think about the things that you say to yourself.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I have you merge into one and become the loving parent. So now little Eva is a part of you. Love her, cherish her, love her unconditionally, keep her safe, you know, always have time for her. And that's what we don't do as adults. We never make, not never, but a lot of us don't make time for ourselves. We put
Right.
everyone else first. We're not nice to ourselves. But when you have the child merging into you and now you become one, after I had that happen to me, after I had that done to me in a session on my own, I have taken such good care of myself. I'm really mindful, and I catch myself if I'm ever mean, or if I, you know,
Right.
call myself a loser or do any of that. And when you start to really feel like you are worthy and that you're good enough, that's when you want to actually get off the couch and do something for yourself. That's when you want to choose healthier options, and that's when you want to nurture and take care of yourself, because you know that you're worthy. And it's also, you know, let's get out of a rut and let's start something new.
Right. And there's more energy when you kind of merge those two together, and you're good to yourself.
Yeah.
And I still catch myself, but I'm mindful of it.
Right.
And so when I might say a couple things to myself, and sometimes I don't catch it, but most of the time I catch it, and it puts me in a better frame of mind, doing self-affirmations, making sure that, as you said, you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
And once you start reframing your thoughts and the way you are talking to yourself, it really does help tremendously. I think that's the first and most affecting part for me, because it let me do the other things.
Yes. So this is really different from my weight loss program. It's really different from any other program, because
Right.
it's barely, here are your micros, macros, eat this much, do this many times a week, and then check in with me.
Right.
It's really about getting your mindset right and believing, and then you actually feel naturally compelled to take care of yourself instead of relying on willpower or logic.
Right.
Yep.
Definitely. Or over-analysis.
Over-analysis,
Which is what I
yes.
do.
So people don't really expect the hypnotherapy to be so deep.
Right. I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, and it was a good thing.
What were you kind of expecting?
I wasn't sure, honestly.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much of the, you'll make me do things, or the stage kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like, what if I don't remember? I was thinking that I might be under,
Mm-hmm.
so that I wouldn't necessarily know what was happening, or I would maybe awake from this and hopefully have a different mindset. But I wasn't expecting the back and forth interaction,
Mm-hmm.
and which was great, and definitely wasn't expecting my reactions and the emotions that I had. And that let me go back and realize that why I was doing these things to myself, why I was talking to myself this way, why I didn't feel valuable enough to be able to help myself lose weight and feel better and be healthier.
And you
Drop weight.
Right. And you called it discipline, lack of discipline, which so many of us suffer with. We procrastinate, or we just can't get disciplined, get motivated, and sometimes we'll start and then we just can't continue
Right.
on it. So this is it's really, I think the best thing about it is that we're really changing the way that you think about it. It's not a plan. It's just Like vegetarians, they don't wake up and say, "Ooh, today I'm going to try not to eat meat. You know, I'm really going to try not to eat that steak," because they've totally changed their mind about meat. So this is where we really change our minds about, and the picture about eating healthier, choosing healthier options. And the best thing is that you don't feel deprived. You just know you can have it another day.
Right.
You can have it another day, and you just, because you can have it any other day for the rest of your life, you're like, well, today I'm choosing healthier options.
Right. I like that. That's one of the best things about this way of thinking.
Yeah.
Is that I don't feel deprived, and I don't think of it as a restriction. I don't even think of it as a diet.
Yeah.
I think of it as a change in thinking, a change in approaching. So that thinking that's an excellent example. So I see that ice cream or whatever it may be, and I look at it and I think, well, what do you want to do at this moment? Maybe I choose not to have this, and then I could have it tomorrow, or I can have it at another time. And I think that was an epiphany in a way, because instead of saying I can't, you can say maybe another time.
Yeah.
I like that.
Exactly, because when you think of, oh, I can never have that food for the rest of my life, like that's really depressing.
Right, and it's so restrictive that you can't keep that up.
You can't.
There's no way that you're going to be able to sustain it. Exactly.
Right, and that's why people throw in the towel, they quit, and they're like, oh, well, I might as well eat the whole cake now. You know, I've already had a bite. And then they quit, and then they avoid their personal trainers, which that's not me. I'm not a personal trainer. But I have clients that actually hide from their personal trainer at the gym. They're like, oh, he told me he wasn't at the gym on Tuesdays. And then they see him, and the trainer's like, come here. So, all right. So talking about how it's different from anything you've ever done. So what have you tried in the past?
Oh, I've tried quite a few things. I've tried like Weight Watchers, HMR.
Tell me about the HMR, because I see that everywhere now.
Yeah, HMR is it's the same idea behind counting and recording. What they do is but you have to attend meetings, but the meetings are different. They're a group meeting. And they talk about not so much the mental aspect at all, but it's the physical. Now, if you replace this with this, then you can have more, things like that. Yeah. And you meet with a physician in the beginning just to see what your goals are, if they're appropriate or doable, or not even so much doable, because, you can work incrementally. Yeah. But it was similar and not similar at the same time to something like a Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, you go in, you get weighed, which you do with HMR as well. But the meetings are a bit different. Okay. And the food is their food. Okay. So.
Did you know that they own Heinz too?
Oh, they do?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
It's kind of a vicious cycle. It's kind of disgusting. You're on the Weight Watchers food, and then you quit the program and you go to all of the processed food, and then you go back to the Weight Watchers food, and it's really sad. People go back and forth. They flip-flop.
Right.
Yeah, I've known people that have been on Weight Watchers off and on for 10 years.
Oh, I do too.
They're back to counting points, and then they're back to...
I do too.
Yeah.
Yep. Many years.
They drop it, they gain it, they drop it, they gain it.
Right.
And they haven't actually been able to have... they want to have like a member of the year, and they can't have a consistent one because that person always ends up gaining all of their weight.
Oh, interesting.
Back. Yeah.
I have a friend who at one point was even a Weight Watchers coach because she was so into it, and she had lost some weight, but she's struggling, and she struggled several times after that. So it's the same idea. When you're restricting yourself, how can you sustain it? You really can't.
Yeah. You should have her come see me.
I know.
Give her my card. All right.